The night above Earth was quiet. Stars shone like silver dust scattered across a black canvas. Far from the cities, in the emptiness of space, something moved at first. It was only a shadow, a dark shape against the distant stars. Then there were more and more. Soon the shadow became a wall made of metal. It was the Imperial Fleet, the most feared military force in the known galaxy. They had crushed countless worlds. Every planet they touched had burned, and now they were here. Their destination, Earth. The fleet emerged from hyperspace just beyond the moon's orbit. There were hundreds of ships, long, sleek, and built for war. Some were the size of cities, carrying thousands of soldiers. Others were smaller, fast attack craft, sharp like blades. Each one glowed faintly with blue light, the mark of Imperial technology. Inside the flagship, Admiral Xyler watched Earth through a massive viewing window. He stood tall, his dark armor polished to a mirror shine. His eyes, cold and without emotion, studied the blue and green planet. A primitive world, one of his officers said. They have no interstellar fleet. Their defenses will fall in minutes. Xyler didn't smile. He never smiled. Do not underestimate them, he said in a deep, slow voice. But, yes, it will be quick. The Admiral had heard stories of humanity. Not much. They were a young species, only beginning to explore their own solar system. The Empire's intelligence claimed humans were unorganized, divided, and weak. But the Empire wanted Earth for its resources, not its people. The humans would either surrender or die. It made no difference to XY in the silence of space. The fleet began to move forward. Massive engines lit up, sending streams of blue fire into the void. One by one, the ships took formation, a steel wave heading straight for Earth. On Earth, most people had no idea. It was night in New York. The streets glowed with lights, cars moved through traffic, and people went about their lives. In Tokyo, morning had just begun. Children were walking to school, unaware that death was coming from the stars. But some knew, far below the streets, in an underground facility hidden from the public, a group of men and women watched the incoming ships. On giant screens, their faces were serious, their eyes fixed on the data. Fleet arrival confirmed, a technician said. Estimated time to orbital entry, 2 hours. At the center of the room stood General Marcus Hale, a tall man with short grey hair. He wore no fear on his face. He had been preparing for this day for years. His voice was calm when he spoke. Alert all stations. Activate Aegis protocol. Some of the younger officers exchanged nervous glances. They had trained for this, but now it was real. Hundreds of alien warships were on their way, and they had the power to erase cities in seconds. Above the moon, the Imperial Fleet slowed. Xyler gave the order to broadcast a message. A deep, cold voice filled every major communication network on Earth. It spoke in perfect English. Their translators had been working for months. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Imperial Empire. Surrender your planet and your resources. Failure to obey will result in your destruction. The message repeated twice, then went silent. Panic began to spread across the world. Social media exploded with videos of strange lights near the moon. News anchors tried to remain calm while reporting the threat. Governments scrambled to make statements. In the underground command center, General Hale simply said, "Proceed, satellites." Above Earth began to shift in their orbits. Some of them were not communication satellites at all. They were weapons, silent, waiting, hidden in plain sight. The Imperial Fleet continued its slow approach. From a distance, the ships looked like sharks circling their prey. Xyla ordered the forward destroyers to move into attack position. In the dark void, their weapon systems powered up, glowing brighter. "This will be over soon," one of his officers said. "They will not even fight back." But something in Xyla's mind felt strange. It was too quiet. Most worlds screamed, begged, or tried to launch a desperate defense. Earth did nothing. It just waited. The Admiral narrowed his eyes at the blue planet in the distance. Perhaps they were frozen in fear. Or perhaps, no, it did not matter. Soon Earth would burn, just like all the others. The first wave of alien fighters broke away from the fleet, heading toward the atmosphere. Their engines roared silently in the vacuum of space. Trails of blue light marking their path. Far below, in cities across the planet, people stared up at the night sky. Some saw the glowing points of light moving, growing larger. Few understood what they were looking at. In the command center, General Hale looked at the countdown on the screen. The alien ships would be within firing range in minutes. His hand hovered over a secure control panel. A single key waited in a glass case. He reached down, unlocked it, and turned the key slowly. The room fell silent. On the screen, the symbols for Earth's orbital defense system lit up, one by one. Hidden platforms in high orbit began to awaken. Long barrels of experimental energy cannons extended into the void. Hale said only 2 words: "Stand by." Above the moon, Admiral Xyla stared at Earth's blue oceans and green lands, unaware that his fleet had already stepped into the trap. The silent arrival was almost over. The storm was about to begin. The Imperial Fleet hovered above Earth like a steel storm waiting to break. Their warships blocked out sections of the stars. Their weapons were armed, glowing with lethal energy. On the flagship Dominator, Admiral Xyla stood on the central command platform. Through the great viewing window, he studied the strange blue planet. From this distance, Earth looked peaceful, calm. It was almost beautiful, but beauty had no place in war. "Transmit the surrender order again," Xyla said. His voice was cold, without a trace of emotion. The alien communications officer pressed glowing symbols on his console. Once again, the fleet's demand echoed through Earth's networks, television broadcasts, and emergency channels. "People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Imperial Empire. Surrender your planet and your resources. Failure to obey will result in your destruction." This time, the fleet waited for an answer. Silence, not even static. No voice from a president. No military commander. Nothing. Xyla frowned. "They ignore us." The second in command, Captain Vreal, stepped forward. "They may be attempting to hide their fear. Many primitive races do this. Or," Xyla said slowly, "they are preparing something." The Admiral did not like uncertainty. His military victories were built on crushing enemies quickly, without giving them a chance to fight back. "Deploy the scouts," he ordered. "I want full scans of their defense systems." A wave of small, needle-shaped ships launched from the Dominator. They streaked toward Earth, leaving thin trails of blue light in the dark. These scouts were fast and lightly armored, equipped with sensors to detect military installations, missile sites, and power grids. On Earth, in the underground command center, the large central screen lit up with red warnings. "Scouts approaching," a technician reported. multiple craft entering low orbit. General Marcus Hale stepped forward. Maintain silence. No transmissions. Let them see what we want them to see. The scouts entered the atmosphere. From the air, they skimmed across cities, mountains, and oceans. Their sensors picked up data, but some of that data had been altered. The humans had been planning for this. What the alien scouts saw were decoys, empty air bases, fake missile silos, hollow radar towers. Every real military installation was hidden deep underground, invisible to their scans. Inside the flagship, Xyla reviewed the scout reports. Pathetic, Vral said. Their technology is decades behind ours. This will be over within the hour. Xyla stared at the images. Something felt wrong. The planet looked undefended. Too undefended. He had conquered enough worlds to know that an enemy without hope either surrendered immediately or fought desperately. Earth was doing neither. In the command center, Hale watched as the alien scouts completed their circuits and returned to space. Scouts withdrawing, the technician confirmed. Hale gave a small nod. Good, they've seen exactly what we wanted. He turned to a tall woman in a black uniform, Colonel Reese, status of Aegis. Fully armed, she replied. Systems are green. We can fire on your command. Hale didn't give the order, not yet. He wanted the fleet to come closer. Close enough to hit them all at once. Above Earth, Xyla had made his decision. Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Destroy their primary cities. Leave the planet intact. The resources are what matter. Vral grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. As you command. The first wave of Imperial destroyers moved into attack formation. Their long gun barrels extended, humming with power. In moments, they would rain destruction down on Earth. But then, a voice spoke. It came through the fleet's encrypted communication channels, bypassing their security like it wasn't even there. It was a human voice. Calm, steady. Imperial Fleet, it said. You are trespassing in soul space. Leave now, or be destroyed. The entire command bridge froze. The message had not come from Earth's public channels. It had been sent directly into their military network, something no primitive race had ever done before. Trace it, Xyla barked. The communications officer worked quickly, but his 4 hands trembled. It's impossible, Admiral. The signal came from everywhere. All at once, everywhere, Real repeated. Yes, sir. Every Imperial ship received it at the same time, as if it was already inside our systems. In the underground command center, Hale lowered the microphone. The message had been short, but that was the point. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. Colonel Reese leaned closer. They're scanning our comms like crazy. You've got their attention, Good Hell said. Let's keep it. Above Earth, Xyla's voice turned sharp. They dare threaten us. Lock weapons. Fire on my mark. The destroyer's weapons lit up, glowing white-hot with energy. The hum grew into a deep vibration that shook the decks. They aimed at the largest human cities. Xyla opened his mouth. To give the order, Rand. Then the fleet's targeting systems shut down. Not jammed, not damaged. Shut down. Every weapon went dark at the same time. What is this? Vral shouted. Engineers scrambled at their consoles. We've lost fire. Control, one cried. It's like someone is inside our ships, overriding everything. Xyla's cold eyes burned with fury. Find them now. But they would not. On Earth, Hale watched the data feed. All weapons offline. Colonel Reese confirmed. They can't fire, sir. Hale's voice was calm. Now we wait for them to panic. Above, the Imperial Fleet began to drift uneasily. Their formation wavered. Their greatest advantage, the ability to strike first, had been stolen from them in an instant. And this was only the beginning. The Imperial Fleet hovered in silence above Earth. Their weapons, once glowing with deadly light, were now cold and lifeless. On the flagship Dominator, Admiral Zyla's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Restore control. I want those weapons online now. Technicians moved fast, their hands flying over glowing controls. Lines of alien code streamed across the screens, but something was wrong. Every attempt to restart the weapons failed. The systems didn't respond, as if they were no longer owned by the Empire. Admiral, one technician said slowly, it's not a malfunction. It's a lockout. A lockout. Zyla turned, his eyes sharp. Yes, sir. Someone has taken full control of our targeting and firing systems. They've locked us out of our own fleet. A silence fell over the bridge. No one dared to speak. In the underground human command center, General Marcus Hale stood over the central display. On the screen, a 3D hologram showed the Imperial ships. Each one was marked with a green icon. Green didn't mean friendly. It meant vulnerable. Colonel Reese leaned in. They're completely blind, sir. No weapons, no targeting. Our override worked. Good, Hale replied. Keep the override active. Let them sweat. Above Earth, Zyla clenched his fists. Enough. Launch the ground assault. Fighters only. We'll take the planet from the surface. Captain Vral hesitated. Without orbital support, they may be exposed. Do it, Zyla snapped. I will not wait here like prey. Vral gave the order. The massive hangar bays of the Imperial Fleet opened, and hundreds of sleek fighter craft dropped into space. Their engines blazed with blue fire as they streaked toward the planet's surface. From Earth, the invasion looked like a meteor shower, glowing streaks falling from the heavens. But these were no meteors. They were death. In cities around the world, alarms began to wail. Civilians flooded the streets, looking up at the strange lights in the sky. Many filmed the event on their phones, thinking it was some spectacular show. They didn't realize the truth until the first alien craft screamed overhead, its metallic skin reflecting the sunlight in the command center. A young officer shouted, "Fighter squadrons entering the atmosphere." Hale's voice was calm. "Activate Sky Shield." High above the clouds, something stirred. To the aliens, it looked like empty air. But hidden in the upper atmosphere were massive stealth platforms. Silent hunters waiting for prey. As the Imperial fighters descended, invisible sensors locked onto them. In an instant, the Sky Shield came alive. Beams of invisible energy sliced through the air, striking alien fighters one after another. In less than 5 seconds, the first wave was gone. No explosions, the human weapons simply shut them down mid-flight. The alien craft fell from the sky like stones, crashing into oceans, forests, and deserts. Inside the Dominator, chaos erupted. Reports poured in from the fighter wings. Weapons, unresponsive, engines failing, were dropping static. Dozens of life signals vanished from the tactical display. Zyla slammed a fist into the control rail. They've taken control of the fighters too. How? Vral's face was pale. It's impossible, Admiral. No race has ever. Do not speak that word to me again, Zyla growled. Back in the human command center, Colonel Reese's voice was steady. "Second wave approaching, sir." "Let them in closer," Hale said. He watched as the alien fighters streaked over the Pacific Ocean, heading toward the west coast of the United States. When they were within range, he gave the order. Now, from deep within the ocean, huge structures rose silently to the surface, disguised as undersea research stations. In reality, they were energy cannons, each one capable of destroying a fighter in a single shot. The cannons fired. Bolts of blinding light leaped into the sky, striking fighter after fighter. The aliens didn't stand a chance. Above Earth, Zod was forced to watch his fleet's humiliation. Fighters fell in flames. Entire squadrons vanished. And yet, the humans had not fired a single traditional missile or launched a single visible craft into space. "Admiral," Vrail said, his voice shaking, "if they can do this to our fighters and our weapons, what will they do to us?" Zyla's expression hardened. "We still have numbers. We still have the fleet." But deep inside, he felt the first real spark of doubt in his long career. In the command center, Hale studied the tactical map. Every alien fighter was gone. The fleet above remained motionless. "They're hesitating," Reese said. "They're deciding if Earth is worth dying for," Hale replied. "And I want them to decide wrong." A new voice cut through the command center's speakers. It was the same alien voice that had threatened Earth earlier, only this time it sounded different, nervous. "This is Admiral Zyla of the Imperial Fleet," it said. "You will return control of our ships immediately, or we will destroy your planet." Hale allowed himself a small smile. "Open the channel," he said. When the connection was live, he spoke slowly, clearly. "Admiral, you came to conquer Earth. You expected fear. You expected surrender. Instead, you've met humanity." Zyla's eyes narrowed. "You will know," Hale cut in. "You will listen. This is your only warning. Leave, or we will erase you." The channel went dead. On the bridge of the Dominator, silence reigned. Zyla stared at the blue planet below. For the first time in his life, he was unsure if he could win, but his pride and his orders from the Empire would not allow retreat. The invasion had begun, and he would finish it. The Dominator hung in orbit like a wounded predator. The Imperial Fleets. Pride had been damaged, their weapons disabled, their fighters destroyed. But Admiral Zyla was not ready to retreat. Not yet. He stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the blue sphere below. "Bring the fleet into low orbit," he ordered. "If they want to fight, we will crush them face to face." The massive warships began to move, their engines leaving long trails of pale light. One by one, the Empire's destroyers, cruisers, and carriers closed in on Earth. The air on the bridge felt heavier with every kilometer they descended in the underground. Human command center, alarms sounded as the alien fleet's altitude dropped. "They're moving into direct attack range," a technician reported. General Marcus Hale studied the holographic map. He could see the enemy's pattern, a classic Imperial formation, tight, aggressive, meant to overwhelm. Colonel Reese stood. Beside him, "They're coming straight at us." "Do we fire?" Hale shook his head. "Not yet. Let them commit. The closer they are, the faster they fall." Above Earth, the Imperial ships glided into position. On the Dominator, Captain Vral smiled for the first time since the battle began. "They can't hide from us forever," he said. Zyla gave the order: all ships, target their largest population centers. Prepare simultaneous bombardment. The fleet's weapons powered up. This time, the human override didn't stop them. It seemed as if Earth had finally lost control of the digital war. In the command center, Colonel Reese frowned. "They've bypassed our lockout, sir. They can fire." Hale didn't look worried. "Good," he said. "That means they've walked right into the second trap." Around the planet, invisible satellites came online, not for hacking, but for tracking. Every ship in the Imperial Fleet was marked with precise coordinates. "On my mark," Hale said softly. 3, 2, 1, fire. The sky above Earth lit up from hidden positions. On the far side of the moon, massive orbital cannons emerged. They had been buried under lunar rock for decades, disguised as harmless geological features. Now, they revealed their true purpose. The first shot was silent in the vacuum of space, but its impact was deafening on the Dominator. A beam of pure, focused energy cut through one of the Empire's destroyers like it was paper. The ship split apart, its wreckage scattering into the void. Before the aliens could react, more beams fired. Cruisers exploded in blinding flashes. Carriers broke apart, their debris raining down toward Earth's atmosphere. On the bridge of the Dominator, chaos erupted, portside defenses failing. "We've lost 3 ships. Shields are collapsing." Xyla roared over the noise. "Return fire. Destroy those cannons." But the cannons were cloaked again within seconds, vanishing from enemy sensors. The next volley came from a different direction entirely. Another 3 Imperial ships were gone in an instant. Space above Earth was littered with the wreckage of alien ships. Twisted metal drifted silently, glowing from the heat of recent destruction. Here and there, fragments of hulls spun slowly, reflecting the pale light of the moon. The Imperial Fleet, once the terror of 100 star systems, was now broken and scattered. Only a fraction of its ships remained. The flagship Dominator was crippled, its command bridge a shadow of smoke and sparks. And yet, Admiral Xyla had not given the order to retreat. Not officially, he stood at the shattered viewing window, the blue curve of Earth still in his sight. His armor was scorched. His voice was low, almost to himself. One final strike. One final chance to take this world. On Earth, in the underground command center, General Marcus Hale had been expecting this. "They'll try again," he said calmly. "They can't leave without saving face." Colonel Reese nodded. "And we're ready." Hale's eyes didn't leave the tactical display. More than ready. This time, they don't get 10 minutes. They get 10 seconds. The surviving Imperial ships reformed into a spearhead formation. It was smaller now, less than half the original size, but still deadly if it could get close. Xyla's voice filled the comms. "All ships, charge forward at maximum thrust. Do not stop. Do not think. Burn the humans from their cities." The engines of the Imperial Fleet roared like thunder in the silence of space. Blue light flared as they accelerated toward Earth, closing the distance in seconds. In the human command center, Hale waited. The alien ships were racing straight into range. The technicians watched the countdown tick lower. 500 kilometers. 300, 100. "Sir," Reese said quietly, "they're in the kill zone." Hale spoke into the command link. "All stations, fire." The response was instant. The moon lit up first, its hidden weapons platforms unleashing beams of pure energy. From Earth's surface, high-altitude railguns fired hypersonic projectiles that screamed through the atmosphere and tore into alien hulls. From low orbit, cloaked defense drones appeared as if from nowhere, unleashing swarms of guided kinetic slugs. The first Imperial cruiser exploded before it could even fire. The second followed less than a second later, split apart by a railgun slug the size of a car. In 3 seconds, 10 ships were gone. On the Dominator, Captain Vroll's voice was panicked. "They're hitting us from every direction. No way to block." A blast from the lunar surface tore through the cruiser to their left, the shockwave slamming against their own hull. The Dominator shuddered violently, its lights flickering. For seconds, half the remaining Imperial ships were already destroyed. 5 seconds, the fleet's formation had collapsed completely. Survivors scattered in every direction, trying desperately to escape the invisible death striking from all sides. 6 seconds, an energy beam pierced the Dominator's starboard side, ripping through deck after deck. Xyla was thrown across the bridge. In the command center, Hale didn't blink. "Continue. Fire. No survivors in range." The technicians executed the order without hesitation. 7 seconds. Another 3 enemy vessels detonated in blinding white flashes, their fuel cores overloading. 8 seconds. The Dominator lost all power. Its engines went dark. It drifted helplessly, a dying giant. 9 seconds. Railgun rounds finished off the last of the fleeing destroyers. 10 seconds. Silence. Nothing remained but drifting wreckage, slowly tumbling toward the blackness of space. The battle was over. In truth, it had ended before it began. In only 10 seconds of concentrated fire, humanity had erased the greatest fleet the Imperial Empire had ever sent. On the bridge of the powerless Dominator, Xyla pulled himself up, surrounded by smoke and flames. Through the cracked viewport, he saw only the wreckage of his once mighty fleet. His voice was barely a whisper. Impossible. For the first time in his long career, the Admiral felt fear. Not for himself, but for his empire. If Earth could do this to his fleet in 10 seconds, what could they do to the rest of the galaxy? General Hale stood in the command center. Arms folded, Reese approached. "All enemy ships are destroyed or disabled, sir. No further hostiles detected." Hale gave a slow nod. "Send recovery crews for the wreckage. And send the message." Across the empty channels of space, a human voice rang out, calm and deadly. "This is Earth Command. Let this be known to all who hear. We are not prey. We are not weak. Come here with war in your hearts, and you will not return." The message was broadcast far beyond the solar system. Carried on every frequency the humans knew the galaxy used. The remaining fragments of the Imperial Fleet drifted silently. No reinforcements came. The Empire had heard, and they would remember. In the depths of space, far from Earth, alien worlds whispered of the battle. Some refused to believe it. A primitive world destroying an Imperial fleet in seconds. But the wreckage told the truth, and the name humanity began to spread, carried on fearful voices across the stars. The 10-second war became legend before the month was out, and in the shadows of Earth's defense stations, Hale and his people continued to watch and prepare, because they knew the galaxy would test them again, and next time they would be ready. The wreckage of the Imperial fleet drifted like silent graves in orbit. Some pieces burned as they fell into Earth's atmosphere, streaking across the sky like dying stars. Others floated in the cold darkness, torn apart beyond recognition. The 10-second war was over, but General Marcus Hale knew this was only the first step. Victory in battle was not enough. The galaxy had to fear Earth, not for a day, not for a year, forever. In the underground command center, the main room was quiet now. The tension of battle had passed, replaced by a heavy awareness of what they had just done. Colonel Reese broke the silence. "Sir, the fleet's destruction is confirmed. No enemy vessels remain in combat range." Hale nodded. "Good. Then it's time for Phase 2. She already knew what that meant. The message, Hale's voice was firm. Yes, and not just to the Empire, to everyone. Technicians moved quickly, linking Earth's most powerful transmitters to orbital satellites. Signals leaped from one platform to the next, chaining across space. In minutes, they had access to dozens of alien communication networks. One technician glanced up. "Sir, we're tapped into all major trade relays and border beacons. If we send it now, the entire outer rim will hear us within the hour." "Send it everywhere," Hale said, "even to the systems that claim they don't want to hear it." In the depths of space, far beyond the solar system, stations and ships of 100 species began to pick up an unfamiliar transmission. The voice was calm, steady, unmistakably human. "This is Earth Command. We have repelled the Imperial Fleet. They came with hundreds of ships. They left with none. We are not prey. We are not weak. To any who would bring war to our world, remember the 10-second war. Come here seeking conquest, and your story will end as theirs did." The message repeated 3 times. It was short, but that was the point. No boasting, no threats beyond. The truth. On distant worlds, alien merchants stopped mid-trade to listen. Miners deep in asteroid tunnels paused their drills, the sound of the transmission echoing through static-filled speakers. And in the dark halls of the Imperial Palace itself, the Emperor of the Empire heard the words and sat in silence. But the message was not only sound. Earth's intelligence division had prepared something more. From the wreckage of the battle, drones had collected fragments of Imperial ships. Some were twisted beams of alloy, some were still smoking engine cores. All were evidence. Using a network of fast couriers and automated probes, these wreckage samples were sent to nearby trading hubs and neutral stations. They arrived with no crew, only a single message stored inside. "This is what remains of those who came to conquer Earth." The galaxy didn't have to believe the story. They could hold the proof in their own hands. In the underground command center, Reese watched the data feeds. "Stations are already rebroadcasting the message, sir. It's spreading faster than expected." Hale allowed himself a small, grim smile. Good. Fear moves quickly. Far away, in the border systems, small pirate clans debated attacking human trade ships. They stopped debating after hearing the transmission. Entire cartels changed their routes to avoid even passing near soul space. In the diplomatic halls of other empires, ambassadors spoke in whispers about humanity. Some argued Earth should be left alone. Others feared that ignoring them would allow the humans to grow even stronger. But all agreed on one thing. Attacking Earth now was a mistake. On the Imperial side, the mood was darker. What had been meant as a swift conquest had turned into a humiliation. The loss of the fleet would take years to replace, and the political damage was worse than the military defeat. In private chambers, Imperial generals argued. Some demanded another assault, larger than before. Others warned that doing so might lead to the total destruction of their fleets. The Emperor listened to them all in silence, his fingers tapping the arm of his throne. He had not spoken publicly about the defeat, But his orders to the fleet were clear. No Imperial ship was to enter soul space without direct permission. It was not a surrender, but it was as close as the Empire would ever admit. Back on Earth, Hale stood in a quiet observation room, watching the wreckage drift beyond the planet's atmosphere. Reese joined him. "Do you think they'll try again?" she asked. "Not soon," Hale said. "They'll remember this for a long time, and so will everyone else." He looked at the stars beyond the wreckage. "We've sent our message. Now we prepare for the day someone ignores it." Weeks later, the story had already taken on a life of its own. In far-off markets, traders told exaggerated tales of the battleships vaporized in a single shot, human weapons faster than light, orbital cannons the size of mountains. The truth was terrifying enough, but fear had a way of growing with every retelling. They called it the 10-second war in every language. Some whispered it with awe. Others spoke it as a warning to their children. And in the hidden corners of the galaxy, leaders of powerful empires began adding one line to their strategic plans: "Do not provoke the humans." Hale had achieved his goal. The Imperial Fleet had been destroyed. But more importantly, the idea of Earth as an untouchable, dangerous power had been burned into the galaxy's mind. The message to the stars was clear. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a fortress. And anyone foolish enough to test it would not live to tell the tale. Months had passed since the battle. Above Earth, the last pieces of the Imperial wreckage had either burned up in the atmosphere or been towed into hidden storage facilities for study. Life on the planet had returned to something like normal, but the galaxy was not the same. In distant spaceports, in smoky cantinas, in the grand halls of alien rulers, one story was told again and again. It had many versions, but it always began the same way. They came to conquer Earth, and were gone in seconds. The tale traveled fast. Freighters carried it between trade routes. Diplomats whispered it in the ears of their leaders. Spies reported it to war councils. Some called it the 10-second war. Others called it the day of the human trap. A few simply called it the silence. Because, in their telling, the Imperial Fleet vanished so fast the galaxy didn't even hear the fight. In a mining colony on the edge of the Varka system, a grizzled prospector told the story to young recruits over drinks. "They say the humans let the Imperials get close on purpose. Waited until they were in the kill zone, then bang, gone. No warning, no mercy." In a wealthy merchant's lounge on a core world, the tale was more refined. The humans never even used their full power. That was just a demonstration. Imagine what they could do if they wanted to destroy, not defend. And in the shadowed corridors of a pirate station, the version was short and to the point. You don't mess with Earth, ever. In the Imperial Palace, the defeat remained an open wound. The Emperor had forbidden his generals from speaking of it publicly, but silence only made the rumors grow. Every officer who had been part of the mission and survived was kept under strict watch. Admiral Zyler was one of them. He now lived under constant guard, not because the humans had spared him, but because the Emperor feared what he had seen. Sometimes, in the late hours of the night, Zyler would close his eyes and see it again. The sudden flare of energy from the moon, the way his ships died faster than orders could be given, the absolute precision of every human strike. He knew what the rest of the Empire refused to admit. Earth hadn't just won. They had been ready for this war long before the Empire arrived. On Earth, General Marcus Hale's work was far from done. The defense systems that had destroyed the fleet were being upgraded. New satellites were launched in secret, each one with weapons even the 10-second war hadn't revealed. Colonel Reese stood with Hale in the command center one evening, watching live feeds of construction far above the planet. "They're still talking about us out there," she said. "Some are saying the Imperials will never dare to return." "They will," Hale replied simply. "Someone always does. Fear fades. Pride doesn't." He tapped the screen, showing the outline of a new orbital platform, larger than anything before. "When they come again, we'll be ready to end the fight before they even see us." The legend of humanity grew into something more than just a warning. For smaller, weaker worlds living under the threat of larger empires, Earth became a symbol. If the humans could stand against the Empire and win, maybe they could too. Petitions began arriving, requests for alliances, for technology, for training. Hale approved some and ignored others. The goal was not to create an army of followers, but to build a network of eyes and ears across the stars. Information was the real weapon, and the legend of the 10-second war was the perfect bait. In a border system light years away, a group of Imperial scouts approached a small outpost. The station master, a tall insectoid with thin, clicking limbs, greeted them coldly. "You looking to trade?" one scout asked. "No," the station master said. "I'm looking to stay alive, and that means not dealing with you." The scout narrowed his eyes. "And why is that?" The insectoid leaned in close and whispered, "Because if Earth hears I helped you, they might think I'm on your side." The scout didn't laugh. He just left. Months turned into a year. The galaxy didn't forget, and in some corners, the story began to change again, growing bigger, stranger, more terrifying. One version claimed the humans had a weapon that could destroy an entire fleet anywhere in the galaxy in less than a second. Another claimed the 10-second war was only a test, and the real human weapons had never been used. And somewhere, in a remote station, a trader swore that a human had once told him, "We could have ended it in 5 seconds. We just wanted to." Send a message. For Marcus Hale, none of that mattered. Legends were useful, but only reality won wars. And the reality was this: Earth was still outnumbered, still surrounded by powers older and larger than itself, but it was not helpless. Every day, new defenses came online. Every month, new tactics were tested. And every year, humanity's reach into the stars grew just a little further. One quiet night, Hale stood outside the command center, looking up at the sky. He thought about the next time, because there would always be a next time. But he also thought about the day after that, and the one after that. If humanity could survive each test, the legend would only grow. And one day, it would no longer be just a story told in far-off bars and trading posts. It would be the foundation of a truth the galaxy would never escape. Earth was not a world to be conquered. Earth was a power to be feared. The 10-second war was over. But the legend of humanity had only just begun.